It's all about how you rebound after you go through adversity, and today we talk with the director and producer of the award-winning independent film documentary, The Rebound. So tune in.
Through that tragedy taught me life is finite. You really have a short window to take what it is from life that you want and enjoy it.
You can go back to that day, February 18, 1990, and change what happened. My honest answer is I wouldn't change it.
You're just going to have to go through it, and your strength is going to be found in simply going through it and being authentic and real in the process.
I was talking with my palliative care doctor today, and she turned around to me and she looked at me and she was like, "Do you think that you'll eventually beat this?" And I was sort of like, yeah, that's probably what I'm trying to do.
No, nothing will ever take away the pain of my daughter not being here. It's my reality.
Well, I know what my body's going to do to me. I've got a wheelchair in my future, but you know what I've been looking for?
What's that?
One with off-road wheels.
Just remembering me as I am, happy and energetic and full of life, no matter what.
You can expect life to kick you in the teeth, but you always get back up, no matter what, and you just keep going.
Living Adaptive with Scott Davidson.
What's up, everyone? We are back. Hope you're doing well. Today, we're going to jump right into the show. We're joined by the creative minds behind the documentary, The Rebound. Shanna Allen is the director, and Mike Esposito is the producer. What's up, Mike and Shanna? Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having us.
We appreciate the time, Scott.
Nice. So to get everyone acquainted that's listening, what is The Rebound? So we can jump into this and really understand what we're about to talk about.
The Rebound is an award-winning feature-length documentary featuring the story of the Miami Heat Wheels basketball team on their journey to try and win their first ever national championship. The film released on iTunes in November of 2018. We had a great film festival circuit, and now we are enjoying a screening campaign where organizations around the country are using the film to support their own goals.
It's doing super well. I've noticed that. You're winning awards. You're getting a lot of representation outside of what you're displaying. Other people are starting to really get the word out of what's going on, what The Rebound is about, and so forth. But how did you two initially link up in this industry before you even jumped into The Rebound?
In the industry, so Mike and I met at James Madison University during a study abroad program. And after college, we both moved down to Miami Beach, and Mike was working in marketing. I was doing some freelance video work, and we connected with the coach of the Miami Heat Wheels because our dogs were friends, and we would just talk about our values and what was going on with the team. And Mike ended up volunteering me to film a promotional video, but this project really became a lot more than that. As you can see, we learned about the world of adapted sports through the eyes of this team and really saw that there was a need for these stories to be told. So that's how it began. That's nice.
And you two, you've been around the sports now for several years, around adaptive athletes. And you got out there. Like, my understanding is The Rebound started as more of like a promo video, not a full feature, right?
Correct. So The Rebound started as a nonprofit promotional video. We heard the coaches' frustration for the lack of awareness, the lack of financial support that they were receiving. It was hardly enough to get through the season. So with my marketing background and Shayna's film background, we said, what can we do to help tell this organization's story? So it started off as the idea for a short video, and then we decided to start social media for the team. At the same time, we said, we might as well build a website so that they can collect donations. So we sort of started doing all these things simultaneously, and we were doing this all in our free time. We both were working at CBS Sports at the time, and we realized that our passion was really in telling this team's story. And at a certain point, we said, let's take a leap of faith. Let's start our own production company so that we can afford the time and the dedication that it needs to bring this type of story to life. So we actually quit our jobs, started a company so that we could pursue telling stories that have some sort of a social impact.
I've noticed that you're very involved in social impact. You're telling stories that have far more than just your normal maybe movie or whatever. You're actually going in there, making an impact, telling a narrative, making adaptive sports seem, something that people should notice, take attention from, and be be a part of. But we have a lot of listeners. You said take that leap. We have a lot of listeners that are involved in nonprofits, and they're either running nonprofits, they're involved in nonprofits, often adaptive oriented, and then we have other listeners that haven't taken that jump. When you first said, I'm going to take this jump and I'm going to go after my passion, I'm going to make documentaries, did people freak out?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that when you're doing something that's different than your typical path, or when you're pursuing something that's greater than yourself, like nobody's going to believe it in you at first. You sort of have to believe in yourself and see that vision through. And that's one of the scariest things I think that we can do as individuals, is like fully go all in on believing in our vision for something, especially when it's going to make a big impact on the world. So yeah, it still still hard. We're doing new things all the time. We're learning how to navigate new industries and new partnerships. And with that, I actually had somebody say today, like, it seems like you guys are always learning new things. Like, you just do, you adapt to, whatever you need to get done in the moment, because our goals for impact are really big. So we have to learn how to do some things that we've never done before.
Why do you have these goals of impact, which is great, but what drove you to specifically focus in social change? What's this background that's driving you to keep going towards, this altruistic filmmaking career?
I think deep down, it starts with the communities that we grew up in and the values that our families sort of instilled in us. But a large part also comes from our background in sports. Shayna and I were both, as individuals, involved in team sports as well as individual sports growing up. And from sport, you derive so many benefits. And one of them is this sense of teamwork and camaraderie and doing something, going for a goal that is bigger than just yourself. It's about the team. And number one, we saw that in the Miami Heat Wheels. We saw that same love for competition and driving yourself to pursue personal goals in this team. And we knew that the opportunities for people with disabilities to play sports didn't always exist. So we decided to evaluate the situation, see what we could do to try and make a difference in that area. But I bring it back to that love for sports and our background in that sort of team environment, wanting to be a part of something and make a difference in the world around us, leave it a better place than we found it.
Yeah. And just to add to that really quick, I think that stories have the power to change the world and to connect people to life perspectives and experiences that you wouldn't necessarily have just living your day-to-day life. So film is such a powerful medium that we have the skill set to create that can put somebody in somebody else's shoes or roll in someone else's wheels for a day and see what life is like from that perspective. So I think that's really what drives me with the impact. I think there's so many things in the world that try to point out the differences that we have, but film can really bring us together and connect us and show us how we are similar as human beings.
That's a really strong point. I want to jump back. We had an interview recently with Bob Babbitt, who started the Challenge. She's a co-founder of the Challenge Athletes Foundation, which has raised $100 million for adaptive athletes. They're a mega organization. Congratulations, Bob, on your Super Bowl ad, by the way, if you're listening. But I think what's really important is he said sports is super important to everyone, not just the adaptive athletes, but then it gives that venue for the athlete to say, look at what I can do too.
Sports is a venue for individuals to be able to prove themselves and individuals to be a part of something that's greater than themselves. That's sort of a theme that we experienced. I think for a lot of these athletes, in addition to sort of proving to the world that, I'm not defined by my disability, there's a sense that everyone who gets out on that court is proving something to themselves. I mean, that's why we compete. It's sort of an internal drive. And I think for a lot of the players, especially players who may have been injured later in life, they have to adapt to their circumstances in a different way than someone who was born with a disability. So I think for those players, it is sort of about proving to themselves at a certain point. how far that they can go. And it doesn't just stop, when they leave the court. Those benefits extend way beyond sport into their lives. The social benefits, the benefits you get in terms of the leadership skills you develop. Athletes are that much more likely to go on and fulfill a leadership position. So I think it starts with that internal test, really, at the end of the day.
I think, Shayna, you really hit on something too, where you talked about the sports and there was a commonality though, adaptive, non-adaptive, able, non, or whatever the limitation or challenge is that you don't necessarily have a separation. There's variables that are different, maybe a chair, maybe a prosthetic leg, whatever it is, or whatever limitation or challenge it is. But in the end, an adaptive athlete is almost like the human condition magnified, where you're going to have to in life adapt to something. What I like about your movie, about The Rebound, is we get a chance to see them adapt to those challenges in a significant way. But one question I have that really stands out in my head is you don't pull any punches back. You don't pull your punches. You really kind of just lay it out there. They will say, this is what happened to me. And there's some really tough stories in there. Did you feel comfortable when you're behind the camera and you're hearing these stories? Did you feel, or were you just shocked? How did that impact you hearing each of these stories?
It's definitely impactful. And I remember preparing my interview questions before one of my first interviews, thinking, how am I going to ask this person how they were shot? And being really sensitive to those subjects is something, as a documentary filmmaker, I definitely wanted to make sure each of our characters were comfortable talking to me about that. So there's a lot of rapport building with the athletes. But yeah, I mean, the stories are super powerful. And one of my favorite scenes is when Mario and his family open up about the day that he got shot in New Jersey. And that was a really natural moment that happened out of asking one question. And in the actual film, the scene kind of plays out in real time, and you get to see his sister dealing with those emotions in real time. For the first time, she's seeing him in 9 years since he left New Jersey, and they're having this conversation. So like being present for those moments and just allowing the characters to speak their truths and just being there to capture it was really, really impactful and powerful for me. And I hope that comes through in the film with audiences. And I think it has.
Do you see some sort of therapeutic benefit? What are you seeing as these stories get out?
I really see the participants' willingness to share their stories as being a gift, a really selfless thing that they're doing. There is a form of therapy in talking about it, but there's something, I think, more significant in the fact that they're willing to, especially a few of the players that we follow deeply, outside of the court, in their personal lives, at home, through some of their struggles. I mean, there's an intense sense of gratitude that I have, and I know Shayna shares the same sentiments, for them being willing to share their story, because it's going to impact someone else. Someone's going to be able to relate to something that they're going through and maybe find a new perspective on how they can deal with whatever it is they're going through in their life. And that was a really cool thing, is the fact that it wasn't just a few people who were willing to open up their story. We interviewed over 50 people for this documentary, and everyone shared something unique. They shared a little bit of their gift for the world. Jeremy Phenom Thomas, he shares his gift in story in multiple forms in the movie. Obviously, on the basketball court, he performs. He sat down for numerous interviews with us, but then through his music, he's able to share his own story. And there's a huge audience that's able to relate to that and relate to the experiences that he's had with his family. So it's just a cool thing and really a selfless thing at the end of the day.
Jeremy Thomas, you bring him up. He's definitely a protagonist of the film, and he's also a PA for you guys. How did he hop on board with The Rebound? Did you guys just see the talent and bring him in?
See, I mean, when Jeremy walks in the room, I like to say that he lights it up.
He rolls in the room.
Yeah, when he rolls in the room. He lights up the room with his smile, with his energy. We created a bond with Jeremy from some of the first practices, and we saw he was hustling, trying to make something of his music career, and he we just liked being around each other. So we invited him when we had started our company to our home office, and he would come like 3 or 4 days a week, and he would come and actually he would start editing the footage that we had captured, logging it, keeping track of it, organizing it, highlighting, oh, these are some good clips, these are some bad clips. So that was sort of some of the origins of him starting to work with us, and it just became a natural friendship and sort of a collaboration. We worked with Jeremy on music, on album art, on a few different video projects. We actually just released a music video with him for one of his singles that's featured in the movie a few months ago. So we've had a lot of chances to work with him and grow together as artists.
I think you'll have a major impact in the idea that you two know how to get to a mass audience. And I've talked to, quite a few people that have suffered and powered through and eventually recovered from a spinal cord injury. They're in recovery from it. But it seems like one of the things that set them in motion was that possibility. They were in a hospital bed. They didn't know what was next. They weren't sure they could do anything next. And somebody shows up and says, hey, listen, you can still do rugby. You can still play basketball. You can still surf. You can do whatever. You can still skate. You can do a lot of different things. It's just you got to approach it a little bit differently. And my hope is the Rebound is going to have that impact so kids that are watching can see that maybe that challenge they're going through, they still have options. They still have possibilities for sure.
Right on. There's something, I think, in the Rebound for anyone who watches it to take away. Yep. No matter how old you are, where you come from, what sort of challenges you're going through in life. It doesn't have to be a person with a disability. There are so many people, thousands of people have seen this film in live events, in live screenings, and afterwards, one of the most common things we hear is, this makes me look at my life a little bit differently. It makes me look at how I respond to the challenges in my life a little bit differently. And that's such a powerful thing to hear from people. And, my hope is that they take it into their lives and they take a little bit of that Rebound spirit into the next time that they experience an obstacle.
I think go ahead. Sorry. No, you go.
No. I was just going to say one of our phrases, and you can see it on Mike's shirt, is everybody faces challenges, but it's all about how you rebound. And we wear these Rebound shirts a lot for our events, and they're just so comfy that we wear them all the time anyway. But people really resonate with that message, regardless of whether you're an adapted athlete, an athlete in general. It's a message that I think people resonate with because it's true. We're all going through our own struggles, whether you can see it or not. And it's how you decide to rebound or you get back up after you fall down that really counts.
Those shirts better be soft. Like I've been ordering shirts from nonprofits and they don't fit right. It's like that 80s cotton that just sucks. It sucks. Now I'm ordering now that you said that because it does look good. I got to say, you guys look good in that gear. And the shirts do look awesome and they helped fund your movie and that's impressive. And the saying is really good, man. It really is. I want to go back though. What you just said there, Shayna and Mike, you both said the same thing pretty much, or the same ideas. This isn't just for adaptive athletes. I hate when it gets cornered that way because it's really not that way. It's not just, it's for a wide audience of, hey, we're hearing this story of somebody overcoming something. And everybody's going to overcome something. It could be cancer. It could be whatever challenge, losing a loved one, grieving, whatever it may be. And seeing others go through those challenges and come out on the other end with something positive is pretty impressive. And we get to see that. Although some of these stories, they're pretty intense. The variables are a little bit more tough than what most other people are going to have to adapt to, especially at the age these folks had to adapt,
It is. The subject matter can be heavy if that's the perspective that you take on it. I think one of the cool things about how the Rebound was edited, and much thanks to Shayna and Nick Ruff, our other editor on the film, is they were able to make some of these hard to approach topics really accessible to anyone, really from a wide range. We were so surprised to see like 10-year-olds responding in really positive ways to this content. And each sort of age group, depending on where you're at in your life and sort of your maturity level and your experiences, you're going to be able to take something different away. But the ability to make that sometimes uncomfortable conversation about disability with someone who's not familiar with it is really special. And that was one of our goals, is to make this great piece of content that's a conversation starter, that will maybe make talking about disability or talking about adapted sport easier for a group of educators who maybe want to instill a program at their school, or just around the dinner table. It allows young children to potentially see people with physical disabilities living regular lives. And they might not have seen that before in their experience. So to be able to sort of fulfill that curiosity in a sort of general audience was a really unique opportunity that we were really, sort of blessed to have, in being able to introduce wheelchair basketball to the world in a really cool way.
How do you help others get out there and feel comfortable to start sharing those stories? Because you share stories on a mass scale, and I'm sure you encounter those that might be a little bit apprehensive. How do you get individuals out there to share?
So we deal with fear a lot in our lives in so many ways. One of my favorite sayings right now is, find out how to use fear as a tailwind instead of a headwind. And you can apply that in so many ways, but one of my biggest fears has been consistently is I'm comfortable behind the camera, I'm comfortable behind the scenes, but sometimes I get nervous. I have insecurities about being on camera. The hardest part is the beginning. It is so easy nowadays with all the devices that we have at our disposal, the technology, the social networks, to be able to post updates and document our lives. It's not always about creating. It's simply about sharing your story in whatever way fits you best. If you write. If you like taking photos, take photos. If you like making videos, make videos. If you like singing songs, writing poetry, find your vehicle and what works for you, and just get started. There are a lot of resources online. If you're looking to learn how to do it right, you can YouTube, how to make a great Facebook post, how to create a vlog. It's hard, but it's only hard until you get started. That first push over the edge outside of your comfort zone is really, really hard, but all it takes is that 1 second to cross that threshold. And then what's beyond that is the adjacent possible. It is the best version of ourselves exists somewhere right beyond that point of leaving our comfort zone. So I encourage everyone who wants to be able to share their story, but really hasn't taken those steps yet, is to share something. Share one photo, share one quote, share one story about something that happened to them that was meaningful. And once you do that, you'll understand what I mean when everything is so much greater in terms of the possibilities on the other side.
That's beautiful. And I think of myself when I hear that, selfishly. I think of myself, though, is so long staying in a comfort zone, not getting out there, not expressing what's going on with me or what I've been through or whatever. And that also kind of built more shyness, and finally taking that jump and just, hey, I want to share this and I want to do this, and getting the chance to make impacts in your own ways is pretty impressive, pretty cool. Do you guys ever coach in that realm? Do you ever teach in that realm of how to share a story? There's a lot of film school stuff that goes out there, but it seems like individuals like you two would be really good in that realm.
Thank you.
Yeah, totally.
Thank you very much. We have not done too much formal education. We do speak often and share our story and some of our experiences with groups. And constantly when we collaborate with other artists, when we work with brands and organizations, one of our goals is always to do whatever we can to empower those who are working with to up-level their game. And we constantly try and surround ourselves with other people who will encourage us to continue to grow. We are just getting started. There are so many things that we are still learning as artists. when we have the opportunity to collaborate with brands, with organizations, with other creators, there's always an opportunity for an exchange. And we always try, whether we're speaking at a Q&A after a screening, or we're working on a big shoot for a new project, what we try and do is bring our skill sets and try and empower those around us to grow and up level what it is they're doing. And inherently, there's always that opportunity for them to teach us something. So we are growing as artists. We're growing as impact makers, and there's still so much to learn. So we're just getting started.
Now, for you two, you have a lot of options. You can make a lot more films. Like you said, you're just getting started, but you've been working on it for years, to be fair. You've been working on it for many years. The rebound just doesn't come after a year of work. It takes a lot of time. What are your options? Have you considered for next documentary is a podcaster that does it out of a shitty walk-in closet in Las Vegas, like something like that, like somebody like me. I'm just kidding, but like, is it like, what is next for, like, what other documentaries are you heat seeking on? Are you going to stay in this community for a little bit? Where are you going next?
I'm
Great
so
question.
glad that you asked that question. So we actually are developing a new documentary in the adapted sports space. We are going to be telling stories about female Paralympians. So I'll just tell you that much. But we are super excited to continue telling these impactful stories. I think there's really a need for it in the market. And especially with women's stories, I think that we don't see enough women represented in our mainstream media, and we're going to do something about that. So That's what's coming down the pipeline.
That's the official leak of the new project.
Nice. So you
got it first on the Living Adapted podcast.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. You weren't excited by the kind of like grainy iPhone videos that people put out with like the 30-second clip. It doesn't give justice to these athletes, you're saying? Come on, you're right. There's such a need. The market really is ripe for talented professionals like yourselves to jump in and tell these stories, actually get it on film. It's one thing to get it over audio. There's plenty of that. It's another thing to actually get it on film and let us see it.
I think that audio has its own magic in storytelling. So I love audio storytelling like podcasts. But film is such a unique medium to connect people with these stories. And the people who we're hoping to impact, like young women with disabilities all over the world, all over the U.S., are going to see these stories and have role models to look up to. People outside of the disability community are going to have a new respect for what these athletes are capable of after seeing these stories and really connecting with the individuals at the core of them. As you can see from the Rebound, we are really focused on characters and the people. So we know that that's going to come through in this next project as well. So I'm excited to continue telling powerful stories.
If I could add on to that, Scott, you nailed it on the head in that these types of stories focused on adapted sports are really important, and to be done at a high level, such that we're seeing, just like we're seeing professional athletes and celebrities across our devices that we're constantly on, that everyone has sort of equal representation in media. And that's something that we're really focused on. With the Rebound, we were able to do something really, really unique with our alma mater, James Madison University. Dr. Kathy McKay is a professor there. She found us on Instagram, realized that we were JMU grads, and said, can we work together? So we ended up having a few calls and going for a meeting back at JMU. She ended up leading 5 different research studies using the Rebound in different settings at the university, in the classroom, with Paralympic Skills Day labs. And what she was trying to study in essence is documentary film a good vehicle to help change attitudes, perceptions, behaviors towards disability and adapted sport. She studied this in 5 different ways, and across all 5 studies, she yielded positive results that, yes, in fact, more than news media, more than commercial advertising, more than any other form, like this this format, documentary film, character-driven stories, is the most impactful way to change those perceptions and the behaviors. So that was, as hard as the Rebound was to make, like the hardest thing that I've ever had to do in terms of creating something or achieving a goal. As many times as we thought about quitting, it's the proof is in the pudding. Like, this medium works. This storytelling works. Remember action sports in like the early 90s? It was sort of on the fringe. It wasn't getting televised. What happened when some commercial advertising dollars came in? We started seeing it everywhere. And now snowboarding, motocross, those are all mainstream sports. Snowboarding is an Olympic sport. I mean, we're seeing that sort of shift with adapted sport as we're getting more airtime for people of all types of abilities participating in sport. People are seeing that there's the same level of competition, the same level of athleticism, and we're going to trend the same way that action sports, mark my words, we're going to trend that way with adapted sport. We're going to start seeing that media, but it starts somewhere. And for us, like going to the film festivals and getting a poster featuring an athlete in a wheelchair next to other major movie posters was huge. Now you see on iTunes, on Amazon, you see the Rebounds poster right there in the sports documentary section. And that was really important for us, and we're going to do it again.
All right. So you talk about how this is going to hit mainstream, and I see it too. I've seen it more than ever. Okay. I'm growing up in an 80s, 90s kid, mostly 90s. And I'm growing up in an era where it was better for me. You know, I have skinny legs from surgeries and stuff, to hike up my socks and go play some football, because nobody will know the difference, really. Just skinny legs. You know what I mean? Scars hidden, everything. Just go out there. I'm able to play with them, hang with them. Hurts, but I'm able to do it. But it'd be a hell of a lot easier if I could just kind of be myself, because there's other people with stories similar, and it's become more accepted. And that is the impact I'm seeing now in the way you're saying, is it's become more accepted to be, you know, slightly different in whatever way, or very different in whatever way that is. That's pretty rad. And your impact's great in that realm. Now, when you say Paralympians, female Paralympians that you're working with, are you talking both winter sports and summer sports?
We are in the process of selecting the athletes and the team stories in some cases that we're going to be following over the next couple of years. We are going to start with our roots in wheelchair basketball, and we're going to follow Team USA women's wheelchair basketball. We had our first shoot in January, and that's really exciting. And I'll let Shayna sort of tell you a little bit more.
Yeah, I don't know. So we're still in development on it. So I don't want to share too much because we are still getting approvals and all of that jazz.
What I like about the Rebound, what I think is so crazy, is that you guys, spoiler alert, that you guys actually end up filming a championship season. That's pretty nuts, man. What are the odds of that?
Well, you'd be surprised. So we started filming with the Miami Heat Bulls in 2012.
Yeah.
2013, that was the first NWBA national championship we attended with the team. They were hyped up, ranked top 10. They barely had enough cash to get to Louisville. And so we show up with them. Jeremy Phenom Thomas, one of the guys who is featured in the Rebound, he makes a music video called Bring That Heat, hyping up his team going in. What do? First round, loss. No. Double elimination tournament, they lost the second round. They were out. So at that point, we didn't really know that we were making a film. We thought we were just still covering this team's story, and maybe we were going to make like a 5 or 10 minute cut. But what really impressed us was the next week we get a call from one of the guys on the team saying, "You come into practice," and we're like, "Dude, the season's over. What are you talking about?" He's, "No, we're practicing." So the next Saturday, they were back in the gym, working, hustling, putting in the hours. Fast forward, we stuck with that team. We just said, if they're going back at it, we're going to follow that, because, you know, at that point, that was sort of like, that was the Rebound. That was the Rebound that we were seeing. So we went back in 2014 with them. Guess what happened? They were hyped up. They went into the tournament, first round loss, into the losers bracket. Same thing happened. So we actually at that point stopped we said, all right, this is how it ends. The rebound is the fact that sometimes you just don't win. Fast forward to 2015, we are filming with the team, slowed a little bit, but we had a couple more shoots over the course of some months. 2015, we decide, let's just go and let's support the team. We got to be there. Maybe they win, maybe they don't, but we're going to go.
We were actually in the beginning of 2015, we were in the middle of editing the film for the footage that we had that existed at that time. So we had a cut of the film where the team lost at the end, and it was really more about them getting back in the gym and trying again, and it's all about how you rebound. But we decided to go and support the team at the 2015 Nationals. We had actually just gotten the shirts printed. So we brought the shirts to them, the first batch of shirts, as a gift to say, thank you for sharing your stories with us. We believe in you. And we gave them to them right after the game that we had shown up for, which they lost. So in their community division, it's double elimination. So in order to make it back into the championship, they had to win a game that night, win 4 games the next day. And this team, we like to think it's because we gave them the shirts and said it's all about how you rebound. We believe in you. But they came back and they made it into the championship game. And we were, of course, there with our cameras capturing it. And everyone knew that we were doing the film by this point. This was our 3rd Nationals. So after the celebration, everyone was coming up to us like, oh my God, like what a perfect ending for the film. And I'm like, I know, we have to go back and re-edit everything. So it definitely changed the story and kind of changed the game for us. It was such a great way to end shooting the film, I think, too. I remember driving back from Louisville and Mike looked over at me and I was like bawling, crying. And I was like, I know it's like over. It's like really over now. Cause like it hadn't really felt like it was completely over until that had happened. So it was quite an experience.
That's great.
I think
such a good memory.
I think it is the t-shirts though, or the shirts. They're not just they're long sleeve too for listeners. So go ahead and buy one, right?
There's long sleeve, there's short sleeve, there's raglan ones. One of the most special things, I think you see this in the film too. We didn't know it, but the guys decided to wear the shirts for their warm up for that championship game. So just sort of like as a thank you, I guess, back to us for believing in them and capturing this journey over the course of 3 years, they decided to show up for warm-ups in our shirts. So that was pretty special.
That is pretty cool. How can we support the Rebound? I know that we can just skip like 3 coffees at Starbucks and easily get the film. You know what I mean?
Well, Scott, you've supported us so much by having us and having us here for this conversation on the Living Adaptive podcast. We're really grateful to you and for the community. What we really seek is connection, and I think there are three main ways that anyone who is listening today and who's interested in learning more about the Rebound can get involved with us. The first is to connect with us on social media. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Our handle is @ReboundTheFilm. Type that into your phone, into your computer right now, @Rebound the Film. Give us a follow. Send us a message. We do respond. We manage that account every day. We put out a lot of cool content. So that's the first way. The second way is to go and watch The Rebound and watch it with a friend. The Rebound's available on iTunes, Amazon, Vimeo On Demand, Vudu. But what I'd love to do, if it's okay with you, Scott, I'd love to extend a special discount to the Living Adaptive community. If you go and buy either the DVD or Blu-ray from our website or do the HD digital download version and enter the code Living Adaptive, you'll get 20% off a copy of the film. And we'll run that throughout the month of February. So anyone who wants to log on and get a copy, we'll extend 20% to everyone. So that's the second way. And the third and final way that you can help support the Rebound is if you are part of an organization, you're an educator at a school, you're involved with a sports team, we do offer screening licenses, and we have a toolkit that helps organizations plan events around screening the film for a group and hosting a discussion afterwards. And that's been one of the most impactful things for communities in terms of raising awareness, introducing inclusion into their schools, a way to educate, fundraise, recruit. So host a screening. They're super fun. It's a great way to get the community together. So if any organizations, schools, educators, teachers who might want to use the film in the classroom, come to our website, send us a message. You can get screening licenses right through the website. And that's something really special in a cool way. So follow the Rebound, go watch the film with a friend, and host a screening if that fits into your programming.
That's pretty rad. That's really generous of you. Also for the discount, really appreciate that. And I think that you'll see response, and I hope that people start screening it, getting it out more. Like you said, at the university level, at the school level, from K through 12, wherever it is, wherever we can get this out, we can share this message. I really appreciate you two coming on. I really do. And I appreciate The Rebound. That's an amazing movie. I watched it twice in like 24 hours. And so it's worth that. And I really appreciate you coming on today. Let's get out and follow you, and let's support The Rebound. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Scott. And if you could do us a huge favor and send us your T-shirt size and your address privately, we'll get something in the mail to you.
Thanks, my man. All right, that's the episode. Remember, you can find contact information for guests in the show notes or on our website, livingadaptive.com. On livingadaptive.com, you can also find previous episodes, writings, and a bunch of other good stuff. So go there. Peace.